All right, I'm just going to hit the record button. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining. My name's Ian Pollock with Shadow Ventures. We are a venture capital firm focusing on investments in early stage construction technology, property tech, and innovations in the built environment. Kurt Franz here is an entrepreneur. He's developed a really cool company that focuses on behavior analytics for hospitality. And I don't want to give too much away because I want to let Kurt with Edifice tell a little bit more about his product, but he has brought together a pretty amazing panel of hospitality professionals to talk about some of the challenges facing operations in the industry and what some of the upcoming technology innovation that we're seeing that can revolutionize this space. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kurt and allow you to moderate this panel.
Thanks, all right. Kurt. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate it. I'm Kurt, CEO of Edifice. We are a behavior analytics platform for hospitality, and I've invited some of the esteemed guests and panelists here today to really talk about a couple trends we've been noticing speaking with customers, consultants, owners, operators, technologists, really around two themes: labor shortage, which I'm sure you may be sick of hearing about, but also guest trends as well. So we have a great panel here today to have a really open, honest discussion about what they're seeing in the hospitality market and steps they're taking to address the issues or opportunities they're trying to go for as well. So I'll have each one of them just quickly introduce themselves, starting with Ashley. Please take it away, and then I'll go around.
Hey, thank you, Kurt. My name is Ashley Dora. I work for Valor Hospitality. I'm the director of hotel operations. So we have hotels in 9 states in the United States. And so, we see quite a few different markets. And so I think that can be something I'm able to bring that perspective to the table, just different areas of the country and what we're seeing. So thank you for inviting me here, and nice to meet everybody.
Great, thanks. Stephen.
Hi guys, Stephen Wendell, CEO of Mountain Shore Properties. We are a developer known for hospitality. We've built 26 hotels, building number 27 and 28 right now in 9 different states, dating back to 1983. First time a hotel was done. I was born that year, so I wasn't involved, but my father was. And we have operated all of our hotels until 3 or 4 years ago, and now we have about 50-50 on the operational side. So very much in tune with the issues that are around today from a labor supply issue and everything from cleaning rooms to managing the hotel. So can speak pretty well to those things. Thanks for having me, Kurt.
Great, welcome. Brendan.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brendan Stengel. I am the Vice President of Operations for a company called Live Unlimited. We are based out of New York City. We might be pretty unique to this panel. We are a third-party operator that manages amenity spaces and offers concierge services to predominantly residential buildings, but we also have a footprint in some New York City hotels offering concierge services.
Thanks. Dell. You're on mute there. You gotta wear that shirt.
I know. Chief Revenue Officer of Hotel Effectiveness. I'm in my 3rd decade in the hotel business. Hotel Effectiveness is a labor management technology company that serves hotels. We've got over 5,000 hotels. We manage several $1 billion worth of labor costs for our customers. And we also freely publish trend data related to hotels, wage changes, productivity, labor requirements for the different business model types in the industry, and have been using that information over the last couple of years through COVID, just to public service to help our customers and friends navigate through this crazy time.
Great, thanks. Adam.
So I'm a partner at Hotel Mogul Consulting. You might recognize the last name. Mogul is short for Mogilonsky. Something started with my dad, who started off in advertising and shifted over to asset management and owners representatives. So we during the pandemic have done a lot of refinancing as well as asset management, working strategically to help hotels figure out the best methods to move forward, either low cost, and a big part of that is technology adaptation.
Great. And last but not least, Skylar down in Miami.
Yeah. Thanks, Kurt. I'm glad to be here. My name is Skylar Simonovsky. I'm the director of operations here at the Hilton Cabana Miami Beach, right on Miami Beach. We are managed by Highgate Hotels, who I've worked with for 7 years, and we are 500 plus hotels in our portfolio. And I recently came down from Miami after managing hotels in New York City, so I've kind of seen the union side of thing versus the crazy labor side of thing down here in Miami, and just glad to be here and looking forward to a great conversation.
All right, awesome, thanks. So yeah, we're going to start off talking first about labor shortage, and then we'll jump in a little bit second half more on the trends. And I just, Ashley, since you started off, kind of speaking about long-term labor shortages, and sent over across your properties, what I guess you do your regional, what other regional directors are looking at in long-term labor shortages, how they're kind of addressing them, if they're doing some unique things to address that, or they see opportunities, or is it just business as usual and just kind of grinding it out? Kind of love to start out with your perspective.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, so I will say that we do some grinding it out, and that's obviously not a long-term solution. So I think just trying to get creative and trying to just understand what motivates and incentivizes people to come back to work, and how we can offer some of that flexibility. So obviously some of it's pay. I mean, making sure that our staff is making a living wage. So I think there's a lot of variables that go into it, and market to market, it seems that there are different reasons people do or don't want to come back to work. And so I think that, yes, obviously it's a nationwide, it's a worldwide problem, but getting creative in the market, and then also obviously looking at, what the other major employers and other hotels are doing in your market to make sure that you're staying in line with what they can get at, somewhere down the road. So really taking a look at what we're paying for each position, and then, making sure we stay up on those nice wage comparisons that Dell and his team put together to make sure that you are in line, because it's not always just about money, but then also trying to be flexible around scheduling, making sure we offer great benefits, and that our overall package that we offer is comparable. I think one of the differentiators for us is just having a great culture, and we are, we're a global company, but we also have a kind of a family feel when it comes to culture. So I think that's one of the reasons that people do stay with us, because they know our CEO, they know our managing director, and those people are, obviously present and communicating with even line level employees. So obviously haven't solved the problem, or else I'd be really rich. But yeah, I'd love to hear everybody else's perspective and how they're solving these problems, or creative ideas that other people have come up with as well.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to dive in a little bit more creativity, what people are trying. Pay is one aspect. It may be more important in some markets versus others, or certain positions, but I don't know if any of you guys have been trying or testing out what may retain people or what may win them out over other employers over the states.
Well, I think Ashley raised a few key words that I picked out were culture and family, where what we're talking about is incentivizing employees on non-monetary scales. And this goes back to something that we hark on, which is, not to get too theoretical, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where the base layer is, financial security, then one level above is a sense of belonging and family. So if you can instill programs of continuing professional development, mentorship, and give these employees some reason to value the long-term stability over necessarily, a quarter, a $1 per hour pay raise, then they will be more inclined to stay with you long-term. And there's lots of different ways you can go about that.
Yeah, I think that's these are all culture great points, and we've been a small management development company by selfish desire on our side. We never wanted to get more than 10 hotels because, as everyone on this call knows, that when management is not linear, it's very lockstep as you get scaled up. And so we've always been able to maintain a personal relationship with all of our employees, which has led to them being more inclined to stay in the trenches with us through a pandemic and through the last couple of years. I realize, that's not the greatest business model for the Aimbridges of the world who want to scale and get bigger, but you can still create many cultures within that culture. And you say what you want, the younger generation cares about where they work and the interactions with their coworkers. And that is a really important point. In addition to pay is, you have to be able to make enough money to eat and live, but you got to have a reason to wake up in the morning and come to work.
If I could just jump in, I think, so we work with all kinds of management companies, large and small. And I will absolutely say that those that are established enough to and thoughtful enough to have defined a culture have a big advantage. We see the turnover data, and we definitely see that the long-standing, deliberate and intentional companies that have been able to maintain that through COVID are doing a better job with turnover than those that are not. But you can't say every management company talks about culture. Very few actually have one. And you can't say, oh, the answer is culture. I'll just go and create a culture. Cultures are something that develop over time. They have to be curated and acculturated. And if hotels are honest with themselves, most management companies, even most ownership groups, they don't really have that today. They haven't thought of it. So where they actually need to start is they need to start with purpose, very straightforward purpose. And I don't mean their purpose. I mean the purpose of our industry. Over the last year, we've hired more people than at any other time in the history of the industry in such a compressed period of time because we were hiring them back. And most of those people quit. The reason they quit is we were desperate for labor. We needed to clean the rooms. We needed to check in the guests. We needed to maintain the hotels and police the parking lots. So we were hiring people as fast as we could get them. We were handing them a housekeeping cart and saying, good luck. And 3 weeks later, after they've been yelled at for, leaving a hair on the sink or something like that, and they've been lonely and on their feet and bored, they quit. Because no one ever bothered to say, this is what hospitality is. Hospitality is about taking care of people when they can't stay in their own homes, when they have to be away from home or they want to be away from home, celebrating some great event or even a tragic one. This is what we do. We provide a very important, noble purpose, and you're a part of that. And your job supports this in this way. Just simply linking those things together isn't a culture, but it's a purpose, and it pays to why we come to work, not what we come to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, Del, I think you hit a great point. It's all about the culture, and you're right. A lot of people don't think about that. And mid-pandemic, I was working in New York City, managing a 685-room hotel that was fully unionized. And I said this when we were meeting yesterday, that I never thought I'd say I would miss the union, but never had a staffing issue for obviously reasons. And I came down to Miami, and I was kind of shell-shocked at what was going on down here. Mid-pandemic, hotels sold out. And I realized how tough the market is, specifically for your line level staff. If I want to go find a front office manager, I could probably find one. But it's not those people that, it's the heart and soul. It's your room attendants, it's your engineers, it's the people that are really doing the dirty work. And what we found is that you have to build that culture. And here I talk a lot about I care because I care, and not because I want to, but because I have to, or because I want to. And that's a big thing. And we find that our room attendants, we had a huge problem. I mean, I'm talking about 9 room attendants on staff, bring in 8 for training, maybe 3 make it 2 weeks. And then those 3 find a 15 cents more wage and they leave. But what we've done is we've tried to get creative. I mean, we found this program where they come in and we don't have a lot of food, establishments around for our team. So they're constantly bringing in dinner, bringing all that stuff. Well, we partnered with this company that came in and built almost like a bodega in our cafeteria. So now the team doesn't have to spend as much money going out for lunch or bring in their own, because they get cheaper food, healthy, that's in our cafeteria. And we try to make all these little things. We try to incentivize them with, hey, you clean a great room, you get a perfect 5-star name mention or a 10-star on your SALT survey. We give out coupons. That way they can feel appreciated and feel loved, and they can turn those coupons in for either gift cards or free night stays, whatever it may be. And we are starting to see that turn of room attendants who are actually staying. But it's a costly battle of managing that. And also at the same time, the most important thing is managing your wages. Here, our Highgate hotels, we have 10 in the area and growing. Our leadership teams try to keep our wages the same, so we're not stealing our own people to go to another hotel. But the market is ever changing, and hotels are so desperate. They'll raise their wages 10 cents just to get 1 or 2 room attendants to fall off and go to their hotel.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, Dell, you have a lot of data on this. It'd be great. Did you have any charts to share on this topic that would help, I guess, visualize this or bring this home from like a large perspective?
Yeah, let me share this chart. This is can you see the screen?
Yeah.
The chart with the hotel turnover chart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is our industry's turnover. Now, our industry has historically the worst turnover of any retail type industry. Actually, pretty much any industry. The good news in November and December, we were second to last. Grocery stores were the worst, so we can kind of be happy about that. But it's a really high turnover industry. It was before the pandemic, and it was especially bad last spring during the surge of leisure demand when we were desperate for workers and we were churning these non-industry people who had not been in the industry. We were churning them incredibly quickly. This is aggregate across all positions. For guest-facing positions, housekeeping, guest services, it's much higher. It's way higher than this. Now, here's just to underscore the point about culture. Companies that we work with that have a very well-defined, curated, and well-established culture, and they tend to be the larger management companies, but not always. Those have about half to a third of the turnover rates that the others do, that the average do. We see it. It's there. So it's absolutely powerful. But what we saw, the difference in the worst times and the best times is, first, we started to catch up a little bit on staffing. Second, we started to remember to tell people why they were there, the point I was making earlier. And it does help. We can have we can have a moderate turnover industry if we work really hard at it. And we can make it a place there where people look beyond the job to why they're there in the first place, and we add to that a career path, we're going to be in pretty good shape, I think. One quick note also, I'm going to stop sharing. I don't know if you guys saw it today in the news. Herschend Entertainment, which owns and operates a bunch of resorts, hotels, and attractions, they just announced that a new employee benefit, day one employee benefit, they will offer tuition assistance, actually complete tuition for like 110 different programs for any associate from the day they start, showing an incredible commitment to that person's future well beyond the job that they're doing. I think that's pretty amazing. And you add to that non-industry folks like Amazon offering high wages and benefits from day one. I think the bar is getting raised on us, and we're going to have to be aware of that.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. But like you said, it takes a while to develop culture. You can't just flip a switch and you're like, hey, everyone, we have culture today. And I think Skylar brought up interesting use where they had a consultant or another company come in to help them kind of relate to the employees a little bit more on that underlying issue they'd be having or something they need, whether it's food costs or tuition, right? I'm wondering if anyone else has brought in a consultant or any sort of technology or anything else that has actually helped. Or if you tried something and it didn't work, please feel free to share that as well.
Well, Valor recently, we hired a consultant to help us with DE&I, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's something that we've been focusing on as part of our culture as we continue to grow and bring on new properties, especially globally. So that's something that we've been focused on, and we meet with our consultant, and then we kind of bring it down into focus groups and talk to the employees, the managers, the line level staff. So trying to get them involved in being part of that as well. And then in addition to that, we had we all got certified to be a mental health coach, I guess. A lot of the management did, and just putting a focus around that work-life balance and making sure that our team has the mental health resources that they need.
It's interesting.
I mean, I think Ashley brought up a good point, and and we talk about this in our staff meetings every day. It's one thing for this culture that we talk about, or these changes to be made. When we talk about it at a high level inside the hotel, so with our directors and our executive committee, and what you find happening is it kind of stops there, and it's just so important for the executive committee to then meet with the department heads and say, hey, this is what's going on, and then go one step further and have the GM or the executive committee go down to each department and speak to the line level team so that they understand what's going on and develop that culture, and then let the line level team see, oh, it's not just, they're not just feeding us this, like they actually mean it. And I've seen some of the best results in our staffing when we take that extra time, 5 minutes, to just go to the line level, sit down, have a bite to eat with them, or just say good morning in their stand-up meetings and tell them why we're here. And when they see that, whether they understand it or not, they like it. And they see like, oh, it's not just me working here to work here, but the people here care about me.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, just building on that point, talking about culture and how it takes a long time to develop. It's built one day at a time, one program at a time. And to add to your point, those that eat together stay together. Just that common principle. One other aspect that we tried to some success coming at it from an independent property level is we brought on a yoga instructor, believe it or not, where just specifically for housekeepers, doing those same repetitive movements, you then have RSIs, repetitive strain injuries, where something that may not necessarily come up on a, doctor's report as an acute injury, but a repetitive lower back injury that gives people just that little bit of strain that over time can cause them to disengage from the job, either showing up as absenteeism or presenteeism, where they're on the job and just not giving it 100%. So simply hiring somebody to come on and do either an organized stretching session for one time a week or as part of the morning stand-up can go a long way to just keeping people motivated to stay on board.
Absolutely. Jumping in here to that mental health and wellness point is something we've been implementing in the past couple months as well, being based out of New York City with all the negativity and, everything swirling around over the last 2 years here. It got tough to come in every day, with how fragile the industry was here. So we do the same exact thing. We try to do at least once a week, every Friday or something along those lines during a lunch break or something. We have a mental health or a meditation, a yoga session for our employees to join. And, again, it's not a huge token, but it's just kind of a spot in your day to take a breath and realize that you're, with like-minded individuals. So I think that is one of the big focuses as well going into this year.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think a lot of these kind of more creative solutions existed a couple of years ago, and it's really changed, hopefully things for the better, even though it's been painful. And as kind of Dell was pointing out that, I think there was a false start when hiring people back, and then it was same old business as usual. And then that just kind of shot back up in everyone's face. So really taking a little bit more of a holistic approach there seems fantastic. And also given there still is labor shortage long-term, have you guys been implementing more cross-training or figuring out ways how to onboard people more successfully, or anything about more technically the process that they go through? Because we spoke a lot about kind of meeting staff members at a human level right now. I was wondering if there's any progress or insights that you guys have just on onboarding them and then retaining them from that perspective.
I can tell you that just as systematically, I'm not going to talk about onboarding process, but in terms of being able to stay on top of turnover, again, one of the side benefits of having so many customers experience high turnover is they asked us for help with data. And it turns out turnover is incredibly predictable. There's a handful of factors with the type of people who take hotel jobs that you can use. Time in job is a really big one, obviously. There are critical points in time when people are likely to be at risk of leaving. Compensation does matter relative to the peers in the hotel and relative to other jobs. So keeping track of that and understanding where that associate fits in matters. Tenure of the manager, hugely important, a big predictor of turnover. Inexperienced managers have much higher turnover than experienced managers. I think we've all had the experience of our first time managing people. And I know I screwed mine up. I was a terrible manager. And I think a lot of people have that experience. We learn. And unfortunately, our associates pay the price. So that's a big thing. The other one, amazingly enough, is the steady hours. 30% of full-time workers in our industry are not getting 40 hours a week right now. I know that's shocking because you're desperate for labor. It's not that they don't want to work. It's that they can't work when we want them to work. They have childcare issues. They've got other conflicts. And if they can't get 40 hours a week on a regular basis, they quit. They just do. And that is a huge predictor. So we created an algorithm that actually predicts this for our customers, saying, here's this associate, they're yellow right now. You need to have a sit down with them and talk to them about what's going on, because if you wait 2 weeks, they'll be gone. Just the data shows it.
Interesting.
I mean, from a cross-training perspective, I mean, look, we've been, we have thankfully had groups at our hotel, and we've had meetings and we've had events, but that's an amazing thing. But the downside is we don't have a banquet staff right now. We don't have a banquet team. So what we find ourselves doing, we have to staff and we have to pay overtime for our pool attendants to come help work a banquet, or our servers to help work in banquets. And we've realized, though, that at first what was so hard and have a negative is now that we're cross-training them, we're way more effective in our service to the groups. We're giving them better service, and it makes our team member feel that much more valued here. Whereas they know that, hey, if it's really cold outside, really cold, I use in quotations here in Miami Beach, but 60 degrees is cold, there's not a lot of people at the pool. So for whatever reason, we're not going to have our normal 3 people at the pool when I only have 3 guests. So what did we do? We had a group in house. We needed people in the banquet space, and we gave them the choice. Like, look, either you go home or we're going to teach you how to work banquets today. And my F&B director does a fabulous job. And now they're cross-trained, and we can count on them to do both positions, gives them the hours, gives them their pay. It makes them feel special and like that, hey, these people want me here. And it's so far, I mean, it's only 2-3 months in, but it's had a pretty good effect.
Yeah, the term we've used for this, to borrow from baseball, is utility players, where somebody has a primary focus, but they also have exposure to a whole host of other departments and other operations. And that means they can pitch in, but from a morale standpoint, it's great because you're not doing the same thing every day. So it makes the job more dynamic, which increases morale. And the results are there.
I've got a question about Highgate. So I know Highgate is a customer, and they're in the process of rolling out labor pooling program within markets where you operate. I don't know if you're experiencing that, but it's another way another way to Adam's point about making a job interesting is do different jobs at different hotels, and be able to pool labor. It also reduces the amount of contractor labor that you need in market. So I don't know, Skylar, if you've experienced the labor pool.
So not so much, but what I did see happen, but what we were kind of focusing on right before the pandemic is that we find out, and this was happening at my Highgate property in New York, is that you have a front office manager, right? If it's slow, they're kind of, I don't want to use the term useless, but I'll say it for this. You know, they're just a front office manager and they work flat 5 days a week at the front office, whether it's busy, whether it's slow, whatever it may be, they're sitting in the back office. But what we realize is if you take away the approach of, hey, you're a front office manager, you're a housekeeping manager, you're a banquet manager, and you come up to this term of operations manager. So you're cross-trained in all parts operations. You need help at the front desk, you learn how to be a front desk. You learn how to be a housekeeping manager. You learn how to dispatch engineering. And that way, where there's a need, you go. And if another hotel needs a need, given within laws and constraints and all that stuff, you can send this one person who, instead of just knowing the front office, they now know every operating department. You can send them there. You can keep them at your hotel, but they can run multiple departments or manage multiple departments, and you get more out of them. They learn more, easier for them to advance in their own career. And I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we're all in it to save money and make money for our owners. So you do that also.
Mm-hmm. See, I personally am seeing kind of the reverse effect of cross-training at my locations, you know, where we are a third-party concierge service provider. That's our tried and true. But with our locations returning from the pandemic, they wanted to combine a front desk agent and a concierge into one, you know, obviously to cut costs. And at first, you know, the idea panned out well. Everyone was excited to get more involved with the hotel operations, but the staffing levels didn't keep up with that cross training. So now there's not enough staff on site, you know, to successfully accommodate all guest requests and make sure they're getting checked in a timely fashion. And I'm just seeing it, you know, result in burnout. Obviously, you know, it wasn't necessarily cross training, but a combination of positions. And I think it's important to note that when you're cross training two combined positions, you eventually are going to hit that critical mass where it's no longer feasible, or you need to add additional staff to keep up with the demand. So that's just my take on how cross training has affected us.
Yeah, and Stephen, from an owner's perspective, developer's perspective, are you kind of leaning on your operational teams to help guide what you guys are doing, or is there something else you're seeing from really that ownership perspective?
Yeah, I mean, look,
most of these guys are in the trenches.
Yeah, when it first started, it was obviously, you know, do what we can. I mean, obviously we knew that first move to let people go, and some companies were able to not do that, but like we had to. We were in survival mode, and that, you know, that's hard, and so therefore you lose a lot of faith in that your worker does in you. But to speak a little bit on the cross training, I mean, I think the more Swiss Army knives, the better at a hotel, because, you know, it not only is it helpful to have someone who can do two things, I think the people that are willing to do two things have a bit more humility that they bring to the job, versus someone who just is like, well, I'm a director of sales and that's all I do. I'm not willing to do anything else. We need those people. And I also find that leads to the person that gets promoted faster, at least historically. And some of our best upper level employees at the hotel level started as, you know, housekeeping. You know, two of our best GMs, that's how they started with us. So if we can get the new younger employee to want to climb the ladder and be in that position, I think that's a great thing. I think the trick is it's a little harder, it feels like today, to get the younger employee to think 15 years or 8 years down the road. They kind of just tend to want to be a GM tomorrow. So it's a little different.
Gotcha. Yeah, and we have about 15 minutes left. So switching gears a little bit, I wanted to jump from kind of labor
Just one last point on labor.
Oh, yeah, go
Not
for
to be
it.
devil's advocate about it, but can any
Please.
of you foresee a situation where labor snaps back?
In what
Where-
sense?
Well, right now we have a labor shortage. Is there the possibility that come this summer, as the stimulus checks run dry, inflation remains high, and all the other various macro factors, can labor snap back where all of a sudden there's a surge in the labor pool market?
I think for other industries, we'll have an easier time than our industry because, like we briefly spoke about yesterday, like especially the younger generation, right? The younger kids,
Yeah.
they see their friends who are CPAs, who are lawyers working from home, who are have all these at-home jobs, and now they're at-home jobs. And hey, we know when you work in hotels, you got to go to the hotel, you got to go to your office, you got to do all these things. And I do agree that I think at some point soon the labor market, there'll be less and less unemployed. But of those that aren't, that are looking for jobs, the reason why it's so difficult is they want jobs where they can sit at home. They want jobs where they can be in front of a computer doing what they have to do and call it a day. Versus us, we know we're in the grind. We've been in the grind since the pandemic started, and we'll be in the grind after the pandemic ends.
Yeah, I want to point out that before the pandemic, we had record unemployment rates, right? We had a massive problem finding people. We had a labor crunch then. And when we return, when yes, people will return to the market, but we also are still about almost a quarter down from our employment just in our industry alone. A lot of it's banquet, a lot of it's F&B. There's also food and beverage jobs everywhere that haven't come back yet because the outlets are closed, because restaurants have closed. Those will come back as people start going out of their homes more and more and life returns to normal. And that's just in hospitality. Then you look at all these jobs that really didn't exist a few years ago that have just exploded, all this gig economy work that is demanding for the same people, the same unskilled labor pool that we target. The reality is, yes, there will be more labor in the market, but there's also going to be a lot more jobs. So we're not going to see relief anytime in the near future. The actual source of relief that would help us with this would be a change in our immigration policies in the US. And we're just not expecting to see that anytime soon. It's just not politically tenable, no matter where you are in the spectrum, to say, yeah, let's bring back the entry-level blue-collar labor that we ran on for most of the last couple of decades.
Interesting.
I
But
think-
Well
thanks.
said.
I think
Go ahead,
just
Ashley.
another factor is childcare and the reliability of childcare. And a lot of our heart of house employees are females, and I think a lot of the childcare still to this day comes down to the mom making sure that the kids are covered. And when you're looking at 5-day 10-day COVID exposures and your kid can't go to school or doesn't have anywhere else to go, I think it takes a lot of flexibility away from some of those employees who used to work a couple of days a week in your restaurant or came in for banquets, and now they're just not able to do that. So I think that the change in policies with schools going from changing snow days to e-learning days. I mean, if somebody has to be home with the kids, even if they're learning from home, so it's a tough situation for some of those employees that used to be more flexible, and I think that's just another thing that is stacked against us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Alexa
that's-
will be home with the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Is there like an
it's a
age limit
complex
on
situation.
that?
I think just to reemphasize, you said a word there, Ashley, that's critical, and that's flexibility. We need to be more flexible. We have this, we're an ancient industry, and we have this artificial, all these traditions that, we've always started our housekeeping shifts at 7 a.m. or, we have these things that are time honored, but nobody ever questions why is that? And these are the kinds of things that prevent us from being flexible and being able to accommodate childcare needs and other issues. So flexibility is huge. I think that this is going to be a problem that is either solved by creative thinking, by technology, by adaptation, or by acquisition. And that's what we're also seeing right now is an awful lot of acquisition about, hotels, management companies getting absorbed, portfolios, whole portfolios moving around. One of our panelists company is buying up everybody who can't seem to adapt. And it's fine, right? That's okay, but it's about flexibility. It's about dynamism. And the reality is that last year, every single hotel I know had to close some rooms to arrival because they were dirty, right? We couldn't find the housekeepers, so we had vacant, dirty rooms. It was a big problem. We were limiting our own success. If that happens to your hotels this year, it's because you didn't plan very well. We know that Revenge Travel 2.0 is coming. We know it's going to hit us hard. We know that all the same factors exist that existed last year to create us that vacant, dirty situation. We got to be prepared for that in terms of how we plan our labor, how we recruit them, onboard them, train them, keep them engaged, and how we staff and monitor productivity and efficiency like we've never done it before.
Yeah. Stephen had to jump, just wanted to thank him for being on the call, owner here. But in the last couple of minutes, just switching to trends, really long-term trends that are emerging here, either that you guys are seeing at kind of the independent scale or local, just in your properties, or that brands are starting to implement that they see as new but long-standing. I don't know, Ashley, if you have any comments on that you've seen in your properties.
I mean, obviously, you know, with going away from stay over service, that's been kind of a controversial one. You know, with guests, you know, a lot of times guests haven't been traveling. This is their first time staying in a hotel since pre-pandemic, and so they're confused or disappointed in the fact that they don't get daily service. So you know, talking through that, making sure you're delivering the right message at the front desk and at check-in, and then of course those people who use digital check-in we don't get the opportunity to necessarily have that in-person conversation with them. So perfect, Dell, thank you for bringing this up, and I'll let you go next.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you're talking about stay over cleans. They were well down from where they were, but they are coming back. So it's not one of the things that owners have to be careful of. And this is, I'm doing a service for third-party management companies. Owners, stay over cleans are coming back. It is not something we can control. It's something that guests expect, and we have to be careful. They may not come back all the way, but we're expecting that at least 80% of pre-COVID stay over cleans for full service will be returning by the end of this year. Probably 65% of select service stay over cleans will return, and extended stay will probably go back to where it was because they did stay over cleans on a request basis anyway, pre-COVID. We're probably going to get all the way back. So we need to build that labor in. And that adds up to somewhere between 6 and 10 minutes per occupied room of extra labor. Got a budget for that.
I want to jump in real quick because I mean, this is right on. I mean, it hits home so hard because here, you know, during the pandemic, we were focusing on roughly about 33% of our stay over guests wanted service. And then we've just realized that it's now 50-60%, and the problem is we see it keep going up, and look, I deal with it every single day. You have guests coming down to the front desk, why wasn't my room clean? You know, we tell the guests at check-in, we put notes in all the rooms explaining our housekeeping service, and from somebody that's in the line every day, I'm at my desk, I'm with my team, I'm trying to figure it out. You still see so those guests that when you mention, hey, do you want your room cleaned while you're here? They look at you like you're crazy and like, no, I don't want anybody in my room. I don't want you to touch anything. I don't want that. And then you have the other 50%. When you ask them, hey, do you want your room cleaned? They look at you like, why wouldn't I want my room cleaned? Like, I'm paying you $350 a night. Yeah, clean my room. And it wasn't like that 3 months ago. 3 months ago was like, hey, don't come in. Come in on the 5th day. Now it's like, I'm here 2 days. I want service tomorrow. And you know what? Give me, wake up service the next day. Do a little something special for me. And it's true. It can't keep up.
Interesting.
And if you don't clean the rooms during the stay and you get rid of some of the other services that they expect and associate with a hotel, you start making alternative lodging look really good. because
Yeah.
an Airbnb typically has greater amount of square footage. They've got full kitchen, they've got all kinds of
Yep.
like at home
Yep.
amenities, and they don't clean the room during the stay. So
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Well-
And also in the in that point, some of the kind of common areas maybe shut down part of that time. Have you noticed guests using those common areas in different ways, either bringing in food if the restaurant isn't open, or anything that's changing that is pointing to a new trend or that people are adopting brand wise or independent wise?
I bet there's some people here who have spaces that their guests are using to work in, right? Since you can work from anywhere, they're working in a hotel, this sort of opposite bleisure. It used to be, we think of bleisure as you work during the week and stay over for the weekend. Now it's like, I can work from anywhere. So I'm going to the beach and I'm going to work during the day and hit the clubs at night.
Yeah. I mean, we have people renting our cabanas over at our pool. I mean, we have about 8 of them. And they used to be rented for, I don't know, call it a party, call it whatever you want. And now they're being rented by the people that are here for 5-6 days, and they literally just rent the cabana to work. They can be outside at the pool. They have shade. They have their headphones on. Maybe they're taking a video call. I don't know, but people come to the front desk all the time. Hey, does your Wi-Fi work at the cabana? I want to rent it to work for the day. What better way? I'm stuck inside, and they get outside to send some emails.
It's amazing. And you can put a virtual background and pretend you're in the office if you want to.
Exactly.
That's great.
And also, like, are there any like trends that you see kind of now that are just fleeting? Maybe something that people have maybe been demanding or wanting, but that's going to go away soon, or you guys basically are addressing but not seeing in the long term?
And I
I'd
feel-
say, not to be too controversial here, but I'd say a lot of the COVID protocols. People are sick of wearing masks.
Yep.
And yeah, there's going to be some that people that are afraid of COVID and are going to still want to sanitize their hands at every single corridor and all that. But there are a lot of other people who, if they're arriving at your hotel by airport, they've just been wearing a mask for the past, let's say 4 or 5 hours, and they want to take it off. They want to give their ears and their noses a break, and they just want to sit out and have a drink and not have to just shut out all the noise surrounding all these COVID protocols.
Yeah, Adam, I was going to say the exact same thing. I mean, we used to get a lot of complaints about, a lot of the brands added as part of their scores, their brand survey, COVID-19 protocols. And I feel like there used to be a lot of mixed emotions about that. And I've seen that die down a lot. Not a lot of people saying, oh, you weren't taking COVID seriously, or, a lot of brands have changed a lot of their standards around the plastic on the front desk or having to wear masks and those types of things. So we've certainly seen that die down in a big way.
I agree with both of you totally. Like, it's almost non-existent. I mean, Miami is a special city anyway, as we know, during this whole pandemic. But yeah, it's like the minute the guest walks in, they just like have a sigh of relief. They take their mask off, they breathe a deep breath, and they're like, "Oh, I'm here finally."
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
I guess
Kurt, to segue, one point I wanted to add, not so much a fleeting thing, but the whole thing with masks that people forget, at least having studied this, is masks impede nasal breathing. So, we have our noses, and the whole reason why we have a nose is it's actually much healthier for you to breathe through your nose than your mouth. So wearing a mask all the time and mouth breathing is actually not good for your health long term. Not to be too controversial, we all understand the safety about wearing a mask, but where I wanted to shift here and something, not a fleeting trend, but to sort of tie back to the labor and bring it forward, is the growth of wellness in hospitality. And we talked about wellness for the employees, but wellness for guests. And, people have been locked up. They've done whatever they could to make it through. And a large part of the population has learned how to work out in their rooms, started doing yoga, started doing meditation, reading about proper diet and nutrition, all these various things that are coming together. And now they expect their hotels to provide at least something similar or some other means towards wellness and well-being.
I mean, we just rolled out here at our hotel. I mean, it's about 3 weeks now, but yeah, we had to jump on that. We now offer fitness training, fitness sessions Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to a trainer who brings her own clients in, and then we get money from them for them staying at the F&B and spending money after their training session. But it's open to all guests for free, whether that's you want to do sunrise yoga on the beach, or you want to get a Saturday morning workout in. We had to do it. So we have a fitness program. It's taken off, and we're hoping that by having that program, it plays its role to guests looking for that as part of their stay.
Exactly. Yeah, it becomes that non-rate comparison value add, where guests will look at your hotels and go, I want to stay there because of this program.
Yeah, and usually in the hospitality industry, hotels, it's really thought room rate is kind of God that rules all. But adding these additional services, have you guys seen any incremental revenue increase, or if it's not very direct, to adding these types of health initiatives, maybe in GSS data or up in ratings at all? Or maybe a decrease in like canceled bookings.
The guest satisfaction is going to be masked by a dramatic plunge in guest satisfaction and ratings because of short staffing. So we won't really know. I think you're right. I think there's some really cool services that will ultimately, like new amenities, that will ultimately help us. But I can tell you that the water is a bit muddied right now. One other just quick thought on a happy trend that I think from a data standpoint, we track hours per occupied room by department, by type. And guest services hours per occupied room also dropped a lot during COVID. We don't think that's going to come back nearly as far as it was, nearly back to normal, because during COVID, those who had to travel really adopted contactless check-in options to a degree they never had before in the decade and a half that those have been available. It's been really great. So mobile check-in kiosks have actually taken off. And we think a lot of people like that, especially when corporate travels starts to pick up slowly. That's going to really be a nice add back. So we probably will see long-term lower labor requirements for front desk, and perhaps freeing them up to do different things, which are more additive to the guest experience.
Yeah, I mean, just to touch on that real quickly, I know it's we're getting to this time here. There are so many new companies out there, whether you call it Zingle, whether you call it Medallia for Hilton, whether you call it Salt, whatever it may be. There's so many different programs out there where not only are the guests not coming to the front desk, they don't want to come to the front desk. So whether you're physically standing by the front desk texting with them, but they complain to you via text, they request things via text, they want everything via text, and they just don't want to come to the front desk. And I think we're going to continue to see that trend. To our point yesterday, our front desk is going to become robots, but there's so much more that the hotels lag behind, that they're realizing, oh, technology is playing a huge role. These guests don't want to talk to me. And as the traveler gets younger and younger per se, and no offense to anybody, they're more in tune to IT and being on their phone and all these things, where it was a change that 2 years ago, I didn't care about texting my guests a welcome message or, hey, how's your stay? Whereas now it's just one more metric that the hotel is getting graded on.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up here. We're a little over on time. We had Brendan jump off. I wanted to thank him as well for his time, but really, Adam, Skylar, Ashley, Del, really appreciate the time. Really appreciate the different perspectives here on the roundtable. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kurt, for everything. Great.
Thanks so much, Kurt. Appreciate you.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for organizing. It's great.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.